Okay. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Doral Publix Junior Golf Classic College Golf Recruiting Webinar. I am your host, Tarek Merchant. I'm the founder and CEO of ImRecruitable, which is the recruiting partner for the Doral Publix Junior Golf Tournament. We have been working with the tournament since 2012, and we've been helping connect the athletes and their families with college coaches. This is a tournament with a long history, and there's been players that come and play this tournament and are looking to get scouted and go on to play college golf. This is one of the main reasons why they come here. The owners, the DeLuca family is a really well-known family in the golf world, everywhere around the world, really. And Charlie Sr., who sadly has passed away, his mission was really to make sure that there was an opportunity for all golfers from everywhere, and this tournament being an international tournament every year, to give them the chance to showcase their talent as well as get points and try to win a great tournament. So it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to also have a great group of college coaches along with my co-host, who I'll introduce in a moment. And we're excited to give you guys some advice and information on how you can improve your game, how you can get to the collegiate level, and how college golf can be a great avenue for you, not only now, but in your future, and how it just affects your entire life. So without further ado, my co-host is Mark Blaweiss. Sorry. He's a co-founder of the Education Resource Team. He's a partner of ours at ImRecruitable. Him and his team do an amazing job helping student athletes one-on-one. He's got a lot of experience in recruitment as well as the admissions process. So I'll let Mark introduce himself properly and tell us a little bit about himself.
Thanks, Tarek, and really pleased to be with you all today, and thanks for joining us. As Tarek mentioned, I have 30 plus years of experience, mostly in education and athletics. I started when I was 5 years old. No, I'm just kidding. But I spent 10 years at the IMG Academy as their director of college placement, working with student athletes in 8 different sports. Focused mostly, my expertise focused mostly on the academic and the admissions side. And so I'm here today to sort of help you understand how that piece ties into your golf piece. And happy to be joined by these great coaches and by Tarek, and look forward to your questions and talking with you.
Great, thanks, Mark. And yeah, just to reiterate, the academic piece is such a big component that we're going to get into playing college golf, and so that's really, really important to understand, and I think it'll be great. So I'm also going to introduce the coaches panel right now, and we've got 3 great coaches. It's a little bit of a change up from what we originally had, but with COVID and all the things going on, which we're going to get into as well, we have to adjust, and different things come up for different coaches. So I'm going to introduce Todd Peterson from St. Olaf College. Can you say hi, Todd? He's there, maybe on mute, but that's okay. He'll be ready to speak in a minute. We also have Michael Dugas from Husson University, and we have Coach Brandon Miller from Kaiser University, which isn't too far away here in Miami. So welcome, coaches. Now, we're going to talk about a few things here today, okay? And I'm going to start it off. So we're going to talk about the importance of online recruiting, especially with the COVID, but even without COVID, online recruiting is where it all starts. That's where coaches make their first discoveries and initial contacts with players. And I'm going to show you guys how ImRecruitable works with a quick demo. So all of you should have already created your profile, and if you haven't, this will help you complete it. And so this will get you a better understanding of what you need to do and how coaches can actually vet you to see if you're a potential prospect for their team or not with your profile. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me one moment here, guys. Can everybody see my screen here? Okay, great. All right, so here I'm inside of a golf player's profile. I've built just a sample profile here, and we'll start off here on the summary page where you get to put in your information and see how you can complete your profile. So these steps that we have, and I purposely left this step in here because down here you'll have a step guide on how to complete your profile to 100% by adding in all the information. I still have a picture left to do, and if I do that, I'm at 100%. And really what that means is if I'm at 100%, I've put in all the necessary information that helps a coach properly evaluate me and see if I could be a potential prospect for their team or not. That takes into account the academic piece and the athletic side. So video is very important. We'll go down the list here, adding a video. So got to at least put a recruiting video in there. You have 3 options of how to upload that. It's very simple. Here we give you key stats. So I'm in as a women's golfer actually, but I'm putting in all my key stats from my physical attributes to my position to some of the stats that I have. I can upload any type of team schedule, high school stats, you know, anything like that. I can add some coach references. I can add some golf honors awards, additional information. And this gives coaches a great understanding of your level. At the same time, they're going to go and do their research as well, but putting in this information, giving them, you know, your files and information and where it's located will definitely help them figure out where you're at and also find your information easier. Academics are a huge piece, as we all know. For many of the colleges, they can't even go ahead and start recruiting you unless they know that you could potentially qualify academically. So your high school name and information to your grades, and for any of those international players here, we do have options where you can put it out of other and determine what your schooling does. So there's options there. It's very important to put in academic files. So unofficial transcripts, here I've added my grade 9 to 11, your SAT scores or your ACT scores. This is all the evidence that you're providing these coaches with. And then you can go ahead and fill out all this other information, which is everything from your test scores to what you want to study in school, to your NCAA or NAI eligibility information, and any other academic information you want to provide to the coaches. It's better to have more than less. And then the most important piece, in my opinion, not to really discount anything else, but if you don't have your personal information in here and they don't know when you're going to school and when you're planning to enroll, or what your contact information is, or what the parents' contact information is, it's very hard for them to get a hold of you. So all of this spits out a great looking profile, and coaches will get a view similar to this with some extra buttons, and they'll be able to go through this very quickly and check out your profile, as well as download some of your transcripts or your test scores. And for a lot of coaches, they got to walk that down to admissions and see if you even qualify. The second part about your profile is to find colleges. So here you can search, and you can filter out a search by location. You can filter out a search by division. So let's just say I took Division 3 here. So I'll move that back one more time. Out of 924 schools here, you have 230 showing golf. That's a lot of schools there in Division 3. You can go down to college enrollment, academic selectivity. There's a lot of options here. You can even search by your major, which I think is a very important one, because if the school doesn't have your major, well, then it's probably not going to be a fit for you, regardless of how good the school might be. So, you know, if I clicked one of these schools here, I would get a view like this. So I would be able to see everything about the school. I would see the overview. I would see where it's located. I could look at the cost and financials. I could look over here at admissions, academics, see what majors they offer, campus life. So you're basically getting all the information in one place. And then if you do have an upgraded profile, you can see the coach's information. And if a coach has done a great job of adding their minimum recruiting needs, they'll have put this information in here and given you a lot more insight about their program, which will help you decide whether you should reach out to them or not. The next piece I would say right here is the coach activity. This is important. I'm in a sample profile, so I don't have a ton of activity, but you know, you can see who's viewing your profile, who's following you, who's searching you. In a free profile here, I can see that there's different programs from different divisions and levels of the game. But if you're upgraded, you can see all those details. So here I got quite a few schools that I can see when they searched, how they searched, clicking on them. And if your last piece here is your favorites, so I could favorite a bunch of colleges that I'm interested in, that are interested in me, and I can start to build a target list of schools. So players have the option here. There's a ton you can do on the free site here. You can build a complete profile. You can search all the colleges. You can see all the information, but the data of the coaches, the activity and all that stuff comes at an upgrade. And so right now we are offering that upgrade, which is a $299 value for a $99 lifetime, which a lot of players have already taken up. So if that's something you haven't done, I would look closely into it. I think we've got a bunch of great tools that can help aid you in your process. So I'm gonna turn the screen share off here now. Turn my camera back on. There we go. And so, yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Mark now to talk a little bit about the admissions process.
And thanks, Tarek. And it really is a great tool for students to use for not just the golf piece, but all the information in there about the college and their acceptance rate and their majors. So what I want to talk to you about really briefly today is the fact that the term we all use and that the NCAA uses and the NAI uses is student athlete, not athlete student. And there's a 90, and the reason they do that is there's a 99%, probably even greater chance that you're going to make your living and your future, maybe not playing golf professionally, but using your education and using your degree to set up the rest of your life. And so we feel, even as an athlete, and coaches feel, even as an athlete, the most important piece that you can present them is not only the ability to do the work in college, but validating it by showing that you've already done that work in high school and that you're going to the college for the right reasons, not just the 2 hours or 3 hours a day you're going to be on the golf course, but the other 22 or 21 hours a day when you're going to be in class, when you're going to be studying, when you're going to be in the library, in your residence hall, making that right fit. Certainly when we work with our students, we lead with academics. We lead with finding that right fit for students, and then make sure that part of that right fit is also the athletic piece. So during this time of COVID, I would say really the two things that have changed in the college admissions process are the number of students applying. Applications for 2021 at most schools are up 15 to 20, at some schools are up 15 to 20%. Much of that is because a lot of students delayed their enrollment for fall 2020 because of COVID-19. So we have seen a great increase for the applications for 2021. And the number of the other difference we've seen is the number of schools that have gone test optional. And I'll touch on that just a little bit later. Let's just talk briefly, briefly, hopefully, about the overall admissions process. And to many, it's a mystery. How do colleges make the decision of who gets in and who doesn't get in? And for an athlete or for a non-athlete, most of it is the same. And the biggest thing colleges are going to look at, the most important factor they're going to examine, are your grades. What did you do in high school? What grades did you get in the classes you took? Why is that the most important? Because that's what you're going to do in college. You're going to sit in a class, you're going to take exams, you're going to get grades. So if you have done that well in high school, there's a good chance you will do that equally well when you go to college. The second thing they're probably going to look at, and coaches can bear this out even more so, is the classes you took. Did you take challenging classes? Did you take AP classes or IB classes? How well did you choose a schedule that meets what a college will demand? If you want to go to Stanford University and you didn't take your high school's most challenging AP or IB classes, it's going to be really difficult for you to go. A few years ago, I was working with the number 1 or number 2 women's golf player in the world, recruit, and the university she was looking at included Ivy League schools and Stanford. And even as good as she was, they demanded that she take at least 4 or 5 AP classes. They demanded that she get a really high ACT or SAT score. That had to come first. The coach would call me every week and say, how is she doing in class? They can figure out how you're doing on the golf course. What they want to know is how you're doing in class. And I think that's equally important. When I was at IMG, my first day, just a quick story, my first day I walked into the office, I sat down, within 5 minutes the phone rang, and it was Rick Pitino from then the University of Louisville, asking me about a student that we had at IMG. But the first question he asked me was, is he doing okay academically? Is he keeping his grades up? Is he doing all the things we need to get him into the university? So yeah, its term is student athlete, not athlete student. So after your grades and after your class schedule, COVID or no COVID, test optional or no test optional, schools are going to look at, for a student athlete specifically, maybe looking at your test scores. And why I say maybe looking is the term test optional is a really tricky term right now. Yes, if you can't take the SAT or ACT this year, and let's say you're a senior in high school and you're trying to get to college for 2021, and you've tried to take the SAT and you just literally cannot find a test center that's open or a place to take the test, then it's test optional. But if you have the means and the ability to take a test, I have found in my work with the admissions offices that they're going to expect that you take that test. And so as an athlete, what I would recommend, whether the school's test optional or not, is that you prepare as if it's not test optional. Because if you do really well on the SAT or ACT, it can really help you. And if you don't do well, maybe they are test optional and you won't have to apply with that test score. The other term you should know is test blind. There are schools that are test blind, which means they don't care what you got on the test. They do not want to see it. Most recently, the University of California system has gone test blind. So UCLA, Cal Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, all the University of California schools are not allowed to look or ask for your test score. And that is not just this year, that's going on into the future. So the first thing I would do as a recruit, if you're worried about the test and whether you should take it or whether the school's really test optional, check with the coach or call the admissions office and tell them you're a student athlete and do they expect you to take the test. If they do, and if you do take it, it is a part of your admissions profile that will make the determination of whether you get in or not. Is it the most important piece? I have found it's not. I have found that your grades and the classes you take and the high school you go to is about 60 to 65% of the puzzle. Maybe the SAT and ACT score for a school that wants to see your test is another 10, 15% of that puzzle. And the rest is what have you done outside of class. And this is where your golf comes in handy. If you have a passion for the sport, as you must if you're at this tournament, if you're spending 2 or 3 hours a day committed to that passion, if you're able to get a coach on the campuses you're interested to let the admissions office know that he or she is supporting your application, then your application will look completely different than a student who's done nothing outside of class. So your grades, the classes you took, maybe your test scores going into the future, I would plan as if it is, and then what you've done on the golf course, obviously, or with other parts of what you've done. The last piece of the puzzle, and one that's often overlooked, is the application itself. The application to school is really the only opportunity you will have for that college or university to see you as three-dimensional, not just to see grades, not just to see numbers, but to get to know who you are. That college application essay and their supplemental questions give you a real opportunity to show your values, your character, and to talk about something other than golf. And that to me is the important piece. If you're a recruited student athlete, you want to make sure that the college knows that you're more than just an athlete. You have other things that are important to you, family, faith, values, whatever they may be, they need to come across in those essays. And that's a struggle for some students. The biggest issue I have with many students as they write their essays is they want to write about golf. And if I read one more essay about, being in the bunker down 2 shots with 3 holes to play, that's not what your college essay should be about. Your college essay should be about other things that are going on in your life and other ways to demonstrate who you are. The coach and your grades and your scores will speak to those other parts of you. So I think those to me are the big pieces of that admissions profile. I think staying on time, realizing that your application and your ability to get into school is really no different than any other student. It's just that maybe because you play golf, maybe that coach at that school can shine a light on you that might not have been shined before. So when you're looking at a school that UCLA that receives 125,000 applications and only 15,000 are accepted, there's another 90,000 probably of the ones that are rejected that on paper look just like the 15,000 that were accepted. So why did that 15,000 get a yes and those 90,000 get a no? For a few of them, for maybe 100 a year at UCLA. Coaches in the various sports talked to the admissions office and said, this young man or this young woman looks on paper just like the students were saying yes to. I need them on my team. Can they be in that 15%, in that 15,000 that you say yes to, and not in the 100,000 that you say no to? And that's where your sport can really come in handy. And I don't think that's different. I'll let the coaches will speak to it as well. I don't think that's different whether you're at UCLA or a small Division III school up in Maine. It's all a matter of finding that balance of finding students who are also athletes, not athletes who are also students. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Tarek.
Thanks, Mark. That's unbelievable advice. You obviously have so much experience. So, I think the takeaway here is understanding also that you got to start your process on time, which is grade 9 when you're deemed a prospect, and when you start getting to high school and you have to think about your grades and what classes you're going to take throughout the years. It's not just your senior year that they're worried about, and you can't just turn it on in your last semester. You actually have to be consistent all the way through. And I know so many players, especially at this tournament, let alone just, in general, who doesn't want to go to the best school they can go to? So you got to give yourself the chance. And by doing so, everything in your recruitment process, I mean, they call it a process for a reason, but I do want to emphasize that it's not a challenging process where you can't be successful with it. I think the challenge comes when people wait too long and they end up cramming and panicking and all that stuff. So everything from building an online profile, for example, if people give pushback, hey, I'm too young. No, you're not. You can start building a profile and adding to it. No one's asking you to commit to college golf or anything right away. Same thing goes for the grades. You got to continue to go through it. You take the classes you need, and you need to make sure you do a good job throughout your years. And whether you decide to play or not, or whatever your, in my opinion, excuses might be, I'll say, you need to just plan for the best and, plan for the best and really hope that everything goes your way. And all you got to do is just give 110%.
Tarek, if I could jump in and add, one thing that we didn't talk about that I think is becoming more and more important is managing your social media accounts as well. Whether you're an athlete or not, college admissions officers, coaches often first go when they see your name to look you up on social media. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a social media account, but if you do, how do I say this? Make it as vanilla as possible. Make it about all the good things in life. That doesn't mean you shouldn't show yourself having a good time. Just, make sure it's legally having a good time. Make sure that you're presenting yourself as a potentially good teammate. You're playing an individual sport now, but soon when you go to college, it's going to become a team sport. So handling bad times as well as good times on your social media is important. And it's also a great way to connect with the coaches and the other potential teammates that you have. But even if for some reason golf becomes a desire to play at the club level, and there are tremendous club golf programs across the country at these colleges, the admissions office itself looks at social media. I mean, it's the first thing I do when we get a new client is we look them up, we Google them and see what they're all about. And college admissions offices are doing the same thing. As a dean of students, when I worked at colleges and universities, I had admissions officers coming to me every day saying, hey, would you look over this student? Is this someone we should bring into our community? There was something there that kind of, put up a red flag. So you don't want any red flags going up. You want a social media presence because it's important. You want to be able to share with your friends and with potential coaches, but just make sure it's appropriate and something you'd be proud of. And speaking of proud of, that's the last thing I just want to add about your application. Even if you've been recruited, even if the coach has had your transcripts and everything read by admissions office and everything looks good, that application is still a version of you. It's still a reflection on who you are. And so when it comes time to do that application, again, I'm stressing that because it's so overlooked by so many students and student athletes. Realize that application is a reflection of you and your family, of what you've done in your first 18 years. Make sure you're putting your best, your best effort forward. Make sure you're shining as best you can.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, coaches, I'll get you guys geared up here. Mark and I are going to go back and forth. We're going to ask you some questions. We've got questions that were sent in ahead of time from players and parents, and I think there's some great questions in here. So I'll start it off and I'll call upon the coaches. So be ready there to unmute your mic, and we'll start with Coach Dugas. The question here is there a maximum number of tournaments a young golfer, junior golfer, should play in a semester, or should they play as many tournaments as possible? What's your advice there, Coach?
Well, I think there's a balance that has to be struck between life and golf. And some folks just don't have the means to play in every event that they want to play in. But I mean, for a lot of the guys that I coach, they play in everything they can get into. And of course, we're in a shorter season. So, it's a pretty condensed playing schedule. I have some players that are down in Miami playing in the South Beach. They don't play for me, but they were Maine juniors that are down there now playing. So it just depends. To me, it depends on what's right for the family and budgetary, and life's pretty important too. So that balance is critical.
Great, thanks, Coach. And I'll ask Coach Miller now. Do you have any thoughts on that question?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what was just said. And I think, it kind of depends on what your goals are as a golfer too. Like if you want to play at the highest level, then you need to play a lot of competitive rounds to improve your game. I think, for us as a coach, from our perspective, if you just play, it depends on your family. Like if your family can afford to travel the country and play a lot of events, great. If you can't, play locally. I mean, if you do well locally, use it as a stepping ladder. Do really well locally, do really well regionally, do really well at your state, and then nationally, and so on. And I think a lot of people rush into playing huge national events before they're ready too. But yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong way in how many events to play. I mean, it's all up to each family and each individual to do what they think's best for what they're trying to achieve.
Okay, Coach Peterson, are you there? Just trying to unmute there. Get it?
Forward.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. So yeah, Coach. Yep, there you go. All right. So I think I need you to move a little bit closer. I can't quite see you there.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. So just wondering on your side here, like if a junior is going to play tournaments, what do they have to do to just even get into the? Can you maybe just walk us through the minimum, what they need to do to play college golf, and maybe at the highest level what they got to do? And then Coach Miller also mentioned, it depends. Some players are also sometimes trying to play tournaments that are too high of a level and they're not really improving.
I'm not really too concerned about how many tournaments they play. I'm looking at what their stroke average is and the types of courses that they're playing. And that's the big piece that I'm looking for. I know family circumstances are a little bit different, And I'm recruiting one golfer right now that I'm suspecting probably doesn't have the means that some other people do in terms of tournaments. And so, but I look at the stroke average. I mean, you know, if you got 12 kids on the team and you can only beat 2 of them, that's, I mean, I'm looking at what your scores are going to be. And if they can't get into the top 5 and make it a positive experience, what I try to do is, you know, counsel them in a way of, this is what it's going to take to be able to play, you know, and so they fully know what it's going to take coming in to the school, rather than giving them a false sense of where they're at.
Understood. Thanks, Coach. Yeah, I think it's a question that a lot of golfers bring up is, you know, they're worried about playing so many tournaments, and I think it's quality over quantity, right? And everybody has a different situation, and there's a pathway to get there. So as you hear from these coaches, you know, they're more concerned about how well you can do in the tournaments that you play and make sure that you are trying to improve your game. Doesn't matter, you know, you don't have to go play the top events just because you think it looks good, but if you're finishing, you know, last every time and you're not really getting a chance to improve and get to the next level, then it's also going to hurt you. So I'll give it to Mark now for the next question.
Thanks, Tarek, and I'll start back with Coach Peterson since he was just on. Coach, a lot of my clients, a lot of my students come to me, and we work really closely with them, so we get to know them pretty well. And some of them bring a fear sort of if I major in a certain thing, will I still have time for golf? If I'm a pre-med major, or if I'm a biochemistry major, can I still play college golf? What is your thoughts on that? I think you got to take your mute off again, Coach Peterson.
You're asking
There
me?
you go. Yeah, I'll start with you this time.
I'm at a Division III school, and it's a selective school, not as selective as Stanford, which you've already mentioned tonight. But it's a selective school, and I have my 2 seniors this year both going pre-med. They're both very, very bright students, extremely bright. I think they got 1 point off between the 2 of them on their ACT scores. So for me, if they want to play golf, golf is obviously going to be second to preparing for doing med school things. So I run my program in a way to accommodate, obviously, what they're going to be doing beyond our college careers. So I don't know. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that helps. I mean, and I think it's obviously different from college to college. I mean, if Coach Miller or Coach Dugas wants to jump in, that would be great. Coach Miller?
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends a lot on what school you're at, for one. I think for two, I think the college athletic system is designed for you to be able to do both. You know, it's something that you do in addition to your education. Like you've been saying this whole call, you know, your student comes first for a reason. And, you know, whatever your degree is, that takes priority over athletics, I think, at every school you go to. And if it doesn't, that's probably a problem. You should probably look somewhere else. Because, I mean, you know, chances of you playing professional sports, you know, is slim. So, I mean, your education is the priority always. And, yeah, I mean, as long as somebody on our team communicates with me that they have schoolwork stuff going on, then it's not a problem at all. We'll work around it. And we do whatever we can to help you succeed, you know, in school and in golf. So I mean, there's always a way to balance it. I think it's up to you as the student athlete to manage your time really well, to, you know, prioritize your athletics and your academics, both, because they're both important, and it's up to you to manage your time. That's what college is all about. And if you do that well, I think you can study whatever you want as long as you pick the right school.
Great, thank you. Coach Dugas, do you feel the same?
Absolutely. You know, one of our strongest degrees is nursing. We have a lot of nursing students and physical therapy and they have a grade requirement that they can't get more than 2 C's throughout the whole 4 years for physical therapy or occupational therapy to get into that program. One of the nice things, we're a Division III school too. We play all of our events on the weekends. So, generally that's a Friday travel, play a practice round, Saturday, Sunday, we're home. So missing school is very minimal. And I'm sure the other programs can speak to this as well. We've done a really good job investing in our practice facilities. Now we have a short game area right on campus. We have an indoor center. These people that are seeking out these degrees and playing at this level are highly motivated already. And, they'll find the time if they have the means to practice. So I agree. As long as they communicate to me, I want them to make sure their academics are in order. Their life is in order, because bad academics, bad grades, students not in a good frame of mind, golf game's not going to be very good either. So for them to be successful, I have to have all those things in line. And I'm sure the other coaches would echo that. So, yeah.
No, that's a big help. Thank you. I'll see what Tarek has next. Let Tarek go next.
All right, I got a good question here, and I think could be a longer answer, but it's a really great question. It's, how do I know which schools and divisions I should be targeting? So I will start with Coach Dugas. You want to start there again with us and give us some insight on where you would advise an athlete to start to build that list and figure out where they should target their schools and what division?
Again, that is a great question, because there are so many variables. What degree do the schools that I'm looking at offer that degree? Do I even know what degree I want? Tough question at a young age, even tough for some as a senior. Where do I want to live? Do I want to look at a new adventure? Do I want to stay close to home? Do I really want to leave? It sounds good, but do I really want to do that? So how far am I willing to go? Is playing important to me? So you go from playing this long, extensive junior career, and maybe you choose a school where you don't get to play in a tournament for 2 years because you can't crack that top 5, or so it's important to look at what schools are putting up for scores. What does that 5th man average or 5th woman? So there's a lot of variables there. I find that certainly for me, it's a mixture of kids that want to play at a high level and in college, and they want to be able to play, and it's you could go on and on about that, but I guess for me, I'd start with, do they have a degree, or, are they where I want to be in the world, or, so yeah.
Thanks, Coach. Yeah, that's great, because as you said, there's so many different variables in there. So I'm going to ask Coach Peterson if he has another not perspective, but if he has some more insight on that, because there's quite a few things you got to do to figure that out.
Yeah, I would say that I'm from Minnesota, and that's where my college is. And I suspect that just about every year there are 60 golfers in Minnesota that all think they're going to get athletic scholarships. And the reality of it is there are probably about 2 of them that can play at the Division I level in our state. And there may be a couple others that probably could play at the Division II level, but they all kind of think that they're going to get full ride golf scholarships, which really doesn't happen. And so my job, the way I look at it, is to kind of figure out those golfers that are aiming way high for what they're actually going to end up, where they're going to end up, and try to talk to them, and try to talk to them about the merits of what a Division III school potentially can do for them. I spoke with somebody the other day, and the conversation didn't go very far because they had reached out to me thinking that there's these golf scholarship money, and there's no money. I find that most of the people that are getting golf scholarships probably have those lined up by the time they're junior years, or maybe even sooner in some cases, from what I see up here in Minnesota. So anyway, trying to help them figure out where they're going to be is a little bit hard. They don't really want to, they all have this aspiration of getting a golf scholarship and traveling, and then they play on the pro tour is kind of what I see from my side.
Thanks, Coach. Yeah, so right there, it's listening to the coaches and who's trying to potentially recruit you, and also financial side, like you said, and Coach Dugas, who mentioned, what do you want? And obviously everybody, majority of people would love to get a scholarship. I mean, who wouldn't for the most part, but that's not the reality. And as we all know, the majority of schools are Division III, but there are other opportunities, and the academics and the golf are phenomenal. So Coach Miller, you got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would, add is, don't cross any school off your list just because you think it might be somewhere that you're not going to go. Like, take a look. Like, if you're in the area, drive through the campus, give it a chance, because I think the more places you visit, you'll have a better idea of what you're looking for. Ask a lot of questions. I mean, being curious and asking a lot of questions to the coaches, admissions office will tell you a lot. And some of the answers you get will probably help you think of more questions to ask at the next school you're at. I mean, the two biggest things I would say would just be really curious, ask a lot of questions, and check out every school that you can, because then you'll have a better idea of what you're looking for, the more options that you see.
Great advice there. Yeah, I always think of it like the coaches are the market, right? And so if they're the market, then if I present myself and I showcase all of my academic and athletic accolades, as well as the person I am, my character, then I will start getting interest from coaches. And to your point, Coach Miller, keep all the doors open, be curious, learn about it, and then start to figure out based on what the coaches are looking for and if they're interested in you, where you might fit, plus taking into consideration all your personal preferences and knowing that, there's never going to be a perfect match, but having put all that together will probably take you down a path that you will see will be a certain type of school or a certain level that you can have a few options with. So, I think a lot of athletes stress about that. That's where this question came from. So again, you just kind of have to let it unfold and see where you fit. And then wherever you fit, that's going to be ultimately the best opportunity for you, and you'll have the best athletic experience. So turn it back over to Mark or the next one.
So I'm going to go with the biggest question my team gets with every one of our clients, regardless of the sport, coaches, is how much can you help them get into that college? How much help can the coach give to a student through the admissions process? And let's start with Coach Dugas, if you will.
Well, pretty much I have no bearing on whether they get into the university or they don't. I can check on their application. I can communicate as to, the admissions department's very good. Hey, we're looking for this. Application looks good, but they're missing this. But in terms of actual help, it's just not part of what we can do at Division III level, financial aid and help. Now, the beauty of that being said is if you're good academically for our university, and when I say good academically, you're maintaining a 3.5 or above, you're probably going to get in anyway. We're not a, like a Williams or, that type of, as Coach Peterson said, they're very selective. We're a little easier to get into. But the great thing about it is, and I'm sure it's the same as Coach Peterson, I mean, everybody gets 8. So, you know, we're going to give you the scholarships, but they're going to be based on your academics. And if you're good academically, you're going to get a great education for not a lot of money. And I can say that as, you know, I graduated 2 sons from my university, and, you know, they're coming out of the university, and I get no benefit as a coach because I'm stipend. So you know, they're not going there for free. They pay for room and board and tuition. You know, they both came out of college with a 4-year degree for less than a year's salary. So, you know.
Yeah, that's excellent. And do you think, while you're still there, do you think that obviously does that differ Division II and Division I?
Yes.
Okay.
My oldest son started Division II, and he had a very, very good golf scholarship. Was the highest golf scholarship the coach had given out. And what happened then is the admissions department, financial aid department looked at our financial situation and the fact that he was getting that, you know, larger athletic scholarship. So his actual scholarship from then went down a little bit. So it wasn't, you know, which it was still good, and we were happy with it. But you know, it's interesting as we talk through all this stuff in the end game. You know, it just worked out better. He transferred back to us, and you know, it was better for him, a better fit for him. So I'm not sure if it was the coach or what, but.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Coach Miller, how about for you? Where do you see the coach's ability to influence the admissions office being at Kaiser or at other schools that you know about?
Yeah, I mean, I can't do much for anybody in the admissions process at our school. I think it's kind of a conflict of interest if I'm using my position to help somebody get into school. I think what I can do in the admissions process is probably the same as what the admissions counselor can do for helping your golf game. So, I mean, it works about the same. I mean, I can send you the link to the application to apply, and the admissions counselor, as far as they can go on the golf side, would probably be sending you our schedule. You know, it's 2 totally different roles. And we work together to, you know, try to help you, but in just 2 totally different ways. So, yeah, I mean, I have no way to help you get accepted in the school. All I can do is, you know, tell you what the steps are, and I can check on the status, and it can help you if you have any questions. But as far as any pull that I have to get you in, none at all. And I'm sure maybe it's different in other schools. I don't really know. All I can speak to is our situation here.
Great, thanks. And that's what, you know, we've been stressing to students for years, especially in the non-revenue sports. I mean, you know, I think it's a little different in football and basketball, and even at the Division I and II level, when you're playing golf or tennis or, you know, even soccer or volleyball, you have to be able to be the student that can succeed there. Even in football, sometimes I'll just tell a quick story. And before Tarek goes to the next question, I was working with the recruiting director at Notre Dame a few years ago, who was heavily recruiting a football player that we had at the IMG Academy. And he came into my office and he didn't say, "Hey, Mark, can I get him in?" His question was, "Mark, will he succeed when I get him here? Will he be able to do the work?" And, you know, I was able to answer that question for him, and he was able to continue on in the recruiting process. But I thought, even at that level, even in a revenue producing sport, the importance of being able to keep yourself academically in line to get in, and then when you get there to be successful. So I appreciate those answers, coaches. And I'll move it back to Tarek for the next question.
Okay, great. So I got another great question. I think, Mark, we got time for one more each. So I'm going to ask my last question here. And I'm going to ask all the coaches, starting with Coach Peterson, is provided the athlete has the right academics and golf level, and you're interested to recruit them, what do you look for in that athlete to separate them from the rest that you could potentially recruit? Because we all know that almost every year the coaches have more than one player that they can put on the team. So what are you going to What are you looking for in order to decide, okay, that's the one I'd want as my top choice?
I guess we do it a little bit differently, but if there's something that I really look for, I guess there would be two things. Number one, are they a good person, and are they going to fit in well with the rest of the team? I guess that would be one. I guess the other thing that I would look for would be, do they really like the game? Are they doing it because they really like golf and they really want to work at it? Or are they more along the lines of, it's just an activity, they've always done it, they don't know to do anything differently, that kind of a thing. So, we rate our golfers on a scale of 1 to 5 for admissions. And a 5 is supposed to be, we think that they could be an All-American or a top conference, or just a steady performer in the conference would be a 3. So, but I would just look for, do they fit in really well? And that's the kind of thing I would be looking at.
I like that answer. Character, big one. You got to like who you're going to be with for the next 4 years, right? So, Coach Miller, what do you have for me?
Yeah, I think the dialogue that I develop with a recruit throughout the recruiting process tells me a lot. I like people who can communicate well. We're going to be spending a lot of time together and communicating a ton over 4 years. So being easy to communicate with, having a positive attitude, being a good person, being self-motivated, having intrinsic motivation for why you play golf and your love of the game is really important. Being a good student. And, yeah, I mean, it's all like human skills off the golf course are a lot of the things I think that coaches are looking for. I mean, we know that you're a good player, but just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a good fit in the program. So, I mean, it's really simple stuff, just like being a good person and communicating well. It's we're not looking for anything totally crazy other than that.
Got it. Thanks. And Coach Dugas, yeah, aside from the golf level and the academics, if they match that, what's the separator between one recruit over another for you?
One of the big things is, I'm looking for a recruit that isn't projecting that they settled for a Division III program. We've got a pretty easy path to the national championship, although it's gotten more difficult in the recent years. We've been there a lot. And if I don't have players that can see themselves, hoisting that trophy, can see themselves winning a conference championship, that's really hard. I mean, if you can't believe in yourself and exude that confidence, show me that you're committed to that. And that's not to say that we have great success on the national level, but all of this stuff helps, and you gotta get there, and you gotta believe you can get there. And if you believe you got stuck somewhere because nobody else wanted to provide you with an opportunity, it's going to be hard to see yourself in that role. It's going to be a hard journey to really have the success in the game that you want. I think all of us as coaches on this panel would agree. We're trying to elevate our programs to the highest levels possible. And, one thing's for sure, we need players that, one, are going to believe that they can get there, and two, are going to show us that they believe that they can get there. And that's doing what you say you want to do. You can say you want to be a champion, and then you're never at the range, you're never at the putting green, but you show up to play 18 holes. Pretty hard to be a champion. Somebody's outworking you. So your actions aren't projecting what you're talking about. So that's a big thing for me. That type of thing.
No, that's great advice. I think everybody's looking for players that want to work hard, improve their game, be the best version of themselves on and off the course, right? So that's great. And if for everybody listening, you got to listen to these coaches. They they gave some great insight right there. So I'll turn it over to Mark for his last question.
Yeah, thanks, Tarek. And I think the admissions office are doing the same thing. They're looking for students that will make their community of learners a better place, not just where they're going to make you better, but where you're going to make them better. So just one tricky question. We've been reading a lot. We've seen a lot of smaller programs at colleges and universities, even places like Brown and Dartmouth cutting some sports because of COVID. How much more competitive is that making the recruiting process? And are you all feeling a little nervous or a little sense that that the crisis might be over and we're heading back towards normal? I'll start with Coach Peterson.
You know, this year, ironically, I'd never had our shirt stitched, which sounds like kind of a funny thing. I didn't have the name St. Olaf put on the shirts for fear that potentially golf was going to get cut. Now, at the Division III level, it's a little bit different than it is at the Division I level. Our sport is funded through the college. It's not funded by, you know, the gate receipts and how the success of the football team and the basketball team and what they bring in. So it's a little bit different. Pretty happy I'm not at a Division I school right now when I hear some of them saying that they've got $100 million that they don't have or didn't have because if they didn't have fall football, like at the Division I level. So I guess for me, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm happy I'm not coaching at the Division I or Division II level and having to come up with those kind of funds right now. So yeah, I don't know if the athletes sense that yet. I know my team gets it. We lost both our last spring and we lost our fall season as well. And I'm hopeful that we'll have a spring season, but you just never know. So I like where I'm at right now, and I'm happy I'm not coaching Division I or Division II because I don't know what potentially could happen there in a non-revenue type sport.
Sure, thank you. And I know we're running out of time, so Coach Miller, maybe you could answer that a little bit, and we'll turn it back to Tarek after that.
Sure. Yeah, our school's an NAI, like similar to Division III. Our athletics are funded through the school, not through the trickle-down money that NCAA schools receive. So we've been pretty lucky. We played our fall season. Everybody was safe and healthy, and we did it all COVID safe, and it worked pretty well. And we'll be playing our spring season. I think golf's kind of a feature sport at our school, so we're not too worried. We have a golf management degree program. We have facilities on campus for the golf management degree that our team also uses. So I don't see golf going anywhere at our school, but I think it's something that, it just depends on the school. It's a question you can certainly ask through your recruiting process, and it's a totally fair question. It's kind of changed the recruiting dynamic a little bit, not because of that, more because of everybody who played college golf last year has an extra year. So that has kind of created a backlog for all the junior golfers right now. So like we like ourselves, we have multiple seniors who want to stay and get their masters, and it's hard for me to say sorry. Like we're going to recruit somebody else. Like we want to see somebody succeed and getting your master's degree if they're a good person and good asset to our team. We want to help them do that. So it's hard to help them do that and to also help a junior golfer get a place here. You can't really do both, and it's up to us as coaches to kind of decide what we do there. And it's a really tough spot for us. It's a tough spot for the junior golfers. It's a tough spot for graduating seniors because they're entering, the COVID economy, and it's hard to find jobs. So it's tough all around, and hopefully we can get back to normal, but we'll see.
Well, it's lucky that golf, and for many of us, golf's an outdoor sport. You can stay pretty social distanced, and it's a great asset to a university. I'm going to turn it back to Tarek. Before I do, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and to our coaches, especially as a last-minute guest. Really appreciate it. But I'll turn it back to Tarek.
Likewise, yes. Thanks to everybody. I guess I want to give the coaches, let's say 10 seconds here. If you could give one piece of advice for these golfers who are going to be playing the tournament or, going through this process, if there's a piece of advice you can share with us, I think the athletes and the parents would really appreciate that. Start off with Coach Peterson, who's the first on my screen here.
Advice, I guess I would enjoy the process. Make a good choice, but I would enjoy the process of being recruited.
Great. Coach Miller?
Just have fun. Life's too short to do anything other than enjoy what you're doing, and playing golf's a great game, so have fun.
Awesome. Coach Dugas?
Yeah, I would echo that. Have a good time, enjoy the process, and I would look at every opportunity as a serious opportunity for you to play at the next level of golf. And you've worked really hard over your career, and that's a tremendous accomplishment just to get to that next level of play.
Thanks, coaches. Yeah, we're all in this because we are student athletes. We love what we do. We're in the game or part of it in some way, shape, or form. And we just know how great of an opportunity and experience it is. No matter what division and level you play at, it's such an accomplishment. And I think people need to take that to heart and realize that, it's not just about playing for that big name school. Most people, as we talked about, unfortunately, you don't get the chance. It's a very slim margins. That's sports. But if you get to the collegiate level, which is hard as it is, then it is an unbelievable accomplishment. It's a great student athlete experience. It's no different, worse or better. I know people who have gone to small schools, big schools, all kinds of schools, and had a very similar experience in terms of the end outcome. So, Mark, do you have any final words for us before we take off? And coaches, yes, thank you so much for joining us.
No, I just want to echo that, and for you guys that are in the audience today to realize that you have an opportunity that most of the world doesn't have, to continue to play your sport, to play it at the collegiate level, to get a degree at great universities and colleges, whether it's the smallest school to the largest school. The experience is one of a lifetime. You'll make your best friends from the team. It'll be the memories you have of your college days, and it's a great opportunity to make university and college life more successful. You'll have your own study groups. You'll have people that you can bond with, and as all the coaches said, just enjoy it. Golf's a great game. Go out and enjoy it. It's healthy, and it's a great way to add to your community at college.
I know that we didn't get the chance to go through all the questions tonight, but we will be following up with you in the coming days and weeks, Mark and myself and the team, and we will make sure to address those for you guys. Remember, there's great resources out there. I hope tonight with these coaches was a good treat to hear a different perspective, and also from the horse's mouth, really, the people that are going to be potentially putting you on their team and how they operate. And, I hope that you build your profiles, you utilize the resources. Guys like Mark here have so much wealth and knowledge. They can certainly catapult and help you get to the next level. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And we say good night and good luck at the tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.